What's up, everyone? Principal Jawas here, back with another episode of the Principal Jawas channel. As always, I'm giving you the keys so you can keep educating yourselves. Okay, so we are getting back to the basics with this episode. Several weeks ago, we released the episode 3 Keys to Be a Successful School Year. Well, for most students, the first quarter is coming to an end, and it is time for you to make some adjustments. In this episode, we are going to give you 3 more keys, but this time for mastering the parent-teacher conference. But before we jump in, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my episodes, okay? Let's go. Okay, so by now you have met your child's teacher, and whether or not they are in the building or doing virtual learning, you have an idea of what the grade level curriculum is and what the instruction in the class looks like. And your child is either thriving, average, or performing below average. Moving into the second quarter of the school year, now is the time to start making some adjustments. You can do this on your own, but you and the school need to work together in this effort. Remember, together everyone achieves more. So if the school has not contacted you for a parent conference, you need to contact them before the new quarter begins or right at the start of the new quarter before things start getting too deep. So after you have scheduled the parent conference, here are your 3 keys for success. Number 1, prepare. Evaluate and review the beginning of the year data to drive the conversation. By now, you have already received data on your child from the beginning of the year, or what educators like to refer to as BOY data. This data is collected in schools in several different ways, but it is important to get a baseline in order to measure a student's deficit areas and begin putting individualized education plans in place to support each child in a customizable way. Now, parents, if no one at the school has contacted you and spoken to you about the BOY data, well, that's a problem. Either the school has reached out and you are MIA, or the school has failed to do their due diligence of informing you of your child's current progress. Either way, there's a problem. So if you don't know your child's BOY data and the school has yet to provide insight into a customized plan to grow your child, you need to contact your teachers immediately. It is no telling what is happening at that school. And like I told you in the 3 keys to a successful school year episode, if a school can mess over your child and they believe they'll get away with it because you as the parent are out of sight and out of mind, well, some schools will do that. So assuming that you have received the BOY data at the start of the school year, you had some type of communication with your child's teacher to discuss the plan for your child based on where they were, but now the entire quarter has gone by or about to conclude. What do you do? As the parent, you want to review the BOY data in advance so you know exactly where your child started the year, so you can have an informed conversation regarding the progress or lack thereof that your child made during the quarter. A lot of schools are proactive in this area, but there are those that are not. Once again, out of sight, out of mind. Okay, so when you set up the parent-teacher conference, number 1, make sure that you and the teacher revisit the BOY data and the teacher is able to show you the progress your child has made during the quarter. If your child is in the academically and intellectually gifted program, that teacher needs to be in the meeting, or they need to schedule a separate meeting with you to essentially discuss the same things. If your child is in the exceptional children's program and has an individualized education program, you should receive the same detailed information, if not more. Data shows us that AIG and EC students, particularly with some type of learning disability, grow the least during the school year. So it is even more imperative that there is a customized plan that meets your child's needs. Also, make sure that you are asking for work samples. A teacher or a school can point to data or talk about your child's progress easily. However, work samples provide evidence. Ask to review classwork assignments to see how a teacher is grading work to determine your child's progress or lack thereof. Ask to review assessment data to see what types of problems your child is getting incorrect on quizzes or other tests. This is important because every school gives quizzes and tests. I repeat, every school gives quizzes and tests. Every state has some type of end of grade assessment. Why does that matter, you ask? This is preparation for that end of grade assessment. Now is the time for them to begin developing the much needed test taking strategies they will need to be successful. For example, say you have a 5th grade or an 8th grade student. Their assessment requires them to read 3 different passages and answer questions at the end of each passage. After reviewing the tests, we see the child answers over 80% of the questions correctly on the first 2 passages, but less than 50% of the questions correctly on the last passage. This immediately raises red flags for us. Was the last passage more challenging than the first 2 passages? If so, then how? More words, more complex questions, more complex passage. Maybe the text itself was above grade level and was not indicative of what the child will see on the end of grade test. And therefore, consideration should be made to omit those questions. Number 2, stamina. Oftentimes, students do not have the stamina necessary to perform at a high level on literacy assessments. What do I mean by stamina, you ask? Listen. You know how you have the best intentions to read a book sometimes, and you get started, but before you know it, you find yourself yawning. Next is either you find yourself waking up from a nap, or you put the book down and moved on to something else. Well, it's the same way for most students in schools, particularly if the child is not an avid reader or reading isn't a part of the culture at the home. For many kids, literacy assessments are not so much a measure of what the kid knows, but a battle of reading endurance. How long can they read, stay focused, and function at the highest levels over a sustained period of time? Not so much how well they can comprehend or decode the vocabulary. This becomes more and more evident with older students who are asked to read longer passages with more complex questions, leading to greater amounts of fatigue. So understanding a student's reading stamina is critical to their success. If it is determined that stamina is the issue, a plan can be developed to help increase a student's reading stamina. We will give you some pointers to support your child with reading stamina in another episode. These are just a few reasons why reviewing work samples is important. It holds the teacher accountable for their grading practices. It helps you to stay informed of how things are being graded so you can support your child accordingly. And it helps to understand specific areas where deficits are prevalent, which allows you and the school to develop a more customized learning plan for your child to accelerate their academic progress. All right, the second key to a successful parent-teacher conference: plan, develop, finalize, and review the education plan. The education plan for the child is a partnership between you and the school. However, if you account for the 8 to 10 hours of sleep that we all need, that leaves no more than 16 hours in a day. During a normal school day, students are in school for no less than 7 hours. Depending on the grade level, students can have anywhere from 1 to 3 hours of homework, give or take. So from the 16 hours remaining in the day, 8 to 10 are school related. What does all of that mean? Listen, Monday through Friday, many times the school gets more of your child's energy and focus than you do. So why does that matter? The school should have a vested interest in your child's success because they see your child just as much as you, if not more. Therefore, the school really should already have in place some type of education plan for your child before you even arrive. So when I say develop the plan, there should already be some type of framework in place. If there's not, your alarm bells should go off. Celebrate the school if the framework is already in place when you arrive, but definitely let your feelings be known if there's no framework in place. Remember, the quieter you are, the more leeway you give the school to mess over your child. Whether right or wrong, it happens. So, assuming there's a framework that has already been developed using the BOI data collected throughout the first quarter, and after reviewing work samples, the group should be able to flesh out a customized plan. If your child is thriving, maybe all you do is continue what's already in place. If your child is struggling, make sure the mitigating and aggregating factors have been isolated. For example, if your child is failing to turn in assignments, or are they performing poorly on assessments? Maybe their behavior is impeding their academic progress. Whatever the case may be, they should be outlined in the plan, and measurable action steps to move forward should be in place for you at home, as well as for the teacher and all other individuals touching your child at the school. After developing and finalizing the plan, all parties involved need to review the plan, including the child. Too often I have seen where all of the adults are at the table, make a decision, and never include or inform the child of the plan. Remember, the child is the focus, so in all cases, they need to be a part of the process. The review process is to make sure everyone is clear of expectations and there are clearly identifiable checkpoints in place throughout the quarter. Okay, so let's move to the last key for a successful parent-teacher conference. Take ownership. Mom, Dad, maybe your child is an angel, but maybe they aren't. Trust me, it is not always the school's fault. If your child receives a phenomenal report and very little is needed in the education plan to support your child, well, that's excellent. But that's just not the case for most students. Most students do need some type of additional support. Maybe that's in literacy, maybe math, maybe science. Maybe their behavior is just completely off the chain and that needs to be reeled in. Maybe their personality just doesn't mess with that teacher, and that's okay. This is the time to figure all of that out. But whatever you do, Mom and Dad, take ownership. The longer I'm in this field, the more I hear parents deferring or playing the blame game. I hear things like, that can't be my child, or they don't act like that at home. Or parents automatically come in defensive, and sometimes that's warranted, but there are times where adjustments need to be made. And parents, maybe they don't act like that at home, but that doesn't mean that they don't act like that at school. So again, take ownership. So parents, congratulations. You either made it or you're about to make it through the first quarter of the school year. So now what? Schedule a parent conference. Your keys to a successful parent conference: prepare, plan, take ownership. For more support and guidance on how you can have an effective parent-teacher conference, visit the website donotrelent.org or send an email to the address below. So what other keys would you give for a successful parent-teacher conference? Leave a comment below and let us know about it. But as always, like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my episodes, okay? I'll see you next week.